Honorable Speaker, thank you for giving the floor. Today, both the sides conceded to the fact that vaccination is good. So the whole debate comes down to the fact that whether or not we'll give something good to the child, even if the parents do not have the consent, Honorable Speaker. So now let me come up to the rebuttals. That is, today the DLO comes up and says that this is actually destroying the medical ethic regarding informed consent, Honorable Speaker. Now, let me tell you, informed consent comes to play at that moment when the medical procedure has a risk. However, both the sides consider the vaccination is good. So, in this case, the fact that it is actually destroying medical ethics regarding informed consent does not stand, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker. Secondly, they come up and say that the parents are not accepting vaccination because they do not know the chemistry of whether it will be good for the child or not, Honorable Speaker. Now, let me tell you this thing: if it was considered that whether the parents know the chemistry or not, then we could not actually take any medicine, because no person in the world can actually know about every chemical mechanism that goes on through by taking every medicine, Honorable Speaker. So in this case, the 95% people who are accepting the vaccination are not actually chemists, Honorable Speaker. So this rebuttal actually does not stand, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, then when our government side came up and showed that how the child will be socially hindered, Honorable Speaker, they came up and told us they came up and told us that there's no way to identify the children because there's not a tag on them, Honorable Speaker. Now let me tell you, when they're getting rejected from the school because the schools do not accept unvaccinated children, Honorable Speaker, isn't it labeling them that they are unvaccinated? And no parents would want their child, even if he's vaccinated, to go near that unvaccinated child, because there is always a chance that that he may spread a disease, Honorable Speaker. So that this rebuttal does not stand as well, Honorable Speaker. Then the DLO comes up and shows us a doctor's role. He says the doctor's role is to act on the best interest of patient, Honorable Speaker. However, we say that the doctor's role is not to act on the best interest of patient, but on the best medical interest of the patient, Honorable Speaker. In this case, the doctor does not have to feed the ego of the patient, Honorable Speaker. The doctor simply has to do what is better for the patient, Honorable Speaker. Then they come up and say that it was a negative message that the state is taking control over the body, Honorable Speaker. However, we want to show you the fact that when a person wants to take morphine, when he wants to take heroin, the state does not let him do so because it is harmful. So in this case, will it be considered that the state is taking over control of the body, Honorable Speaker? No, it is not, Honorable Speaker. Then, Honorable Speaker, when we since many schools do not accept students who are unvaccinated, they come up and tell us that the child can get vaccinated when he's old enough, like when he's 18 years old, he can actually get vaccination to get into the university, which rejected him because he wasn't vaccinated, Honorable Speaker. Now, here two things comes, Honorable Speaker. The first thing is, you're actually making him go through a trauma, even though he's actually accepting at the end. So just because so we can see that at the end it is good, so why not give it to him? Because when you're not giving it to him, you're actually taking away the education, the best education that he could have gotten in childhood, but he could not do so because he was not unvaccinated. And at the end of the day, since he is getting vaccinated, why not do it at the first place? Then, Honorable Speaker, even if you consider the fact that they can get vaccinated when they're 18 years of age, Honorable Speaker, however, the 18 years gap through which they could get any of the diseases that could be prevented through vaccines, Honorable Speaker. So we believe that if we took it in the first place, that would have been the best case scenario, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, today overall their two arguments was the right of the parents, and we have clearly showed you that when it comes down to the life of the child, when it comes down to the life of other people of the state, Honorable Speaker, the state has the right to take away some certain auxiliary rights. I repeat, Honorable Speaker, auxiliary rights like the freedom of choice, Honorable Speaker. In this case, we are actually giving him something good. We are not giving him something that is harmful for his body, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, then he comes up and says the doctor, it is actually harmful for the doctor because the doctor may be student, and they showed us a case that the doctor gave a vaccination and after a month the child became sick through a different disease, but the parents think that the disease was caused due to vaccination, Honorable Speaker. But we tell you, we are in the 21st century. We have blood tests, we have ECG, we have various tests to clarify that the doctor was not at fault here, Honorable Speaker. So overall, their two arguments do not stand at all, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, now let me come to the clashes. That is, our first clashes, the parental right versus the doctor's decision, Honorable Speaker. Now let me tell you, when you're actually talking about parental right, when the parents are not letting the child take the vaccination, three damages are caused. Firstly, she's actually endangering the child itself. Secondly, it's actually endangering the child's future lifestyle, because he will not get a good education, because the law has already been passed that students will not be accepted in school who are unvaccinated. And the third point is that because of a parent's right, you are actually endangering an entire society to an epidemic disease, honorable speaker. So we see that in case of the doctor's decision, even though he's just violating, he's just cutting off certain rights, the doctor is actually doing a greater good. So it is win-win for the doctor, honorable speaker. Honorable speaker, the next thing comes up is the doctor's role, whether to suggest or to take action, honorable speaker. Now let me tell you, the doctor should do what is in the best medical interest of the patient, honorable speaker. So in this case, if you come up with a gangrene or if you need blood transfusion, the doctor will not ask your consent, because blood transfusion is necessary, and the court itself has ordered, regardless of religious rights and views, blood transfusion should be given, because it is good for the patient, honorable speaker. The third thing that comes up is whether or not state will give a good facility to the children despite the lack of parental consent, honorable speaker. Now let me show you, when the state is not actually doing this, when the doctor is not giving the facility, it is actually hampering, it is actually putting a pressure on the state's economic and social consensus, honorable speaker. Because of that 1%, the entire society is in danger, honorable speaker. So we believe that in this case, the doctor should give a good facilities to the child despite the lack of parental consent, honorable speaker. Now let me show you a few statistics which they have clearly failed to rebut against. Now our first thing was the herd immunity. We have told you that the whole context of the debate was the minority of the people who know about vaccination and yet reject it. So in this case, the mass awareness program is not actually fruitful, honorable speaker. Then again, if you consider the herd immunity, honorable speaker, when a definite percentage of the people are not vaccinated, an epidemic can spread. That is called the herd immunity, honorable speaker. We have talked about herd immunity, honorable speaker, and they have clearly failed to show us how their mass awareness is actually working for the herd immunity, honorable speaker. But and we tell you that mass awareness takes a long time, and in this case, the herd immunity may decrease in the time being. So we see that the mass awareness program is not a successful alternative, honorable speaker. The second thing it comes up, that is, if we can actually bash out religious rights, then why not some parental consent, which is actually an auxiliary right, honorable speaker, because we are actually doing something that is good for the child, that has been accepted both by the leader of opposition and both by our house, honorable speaker. Our house. The third thing that comes up is that in this case, the state is at loss both economically and socially just because of the consent of parents, honorable speaker. In this case, the doctor should not do. The state has the full authority, and the doctor has the right to give vaccination to the child, because it is actually in the best interest of the child as considered. So we say that if we sum up the whole debate, we say that the leader of opposition has actually given the main debate that they actually did, that is, he's the one who actually come up and told about the right of parents and right of doctors and role of doctors, honorable speaker. The deputy leader of opposition has failed to give us any constructive, honorable speaker. On the other hand, we have clearly showed you why the doctors should be given the right to give vaccination to the child, even if the parents do not consent to it, because, honorable speaker, the parents, even if they want something best for the child, just because of their egotical problems, if they reject something good, it is the right of the state to give that to the child. Similarly as that of education, just because your parents do not want you to get educated does not mean you should not get educated, honorable speaker. So we believe this motion clearly passes, and we take the debate home.